This podcast is part of the Michigan Sports and Entertainment Podcast Network. Go to michigansportsandentertainment.com for more great podcasts.
Today on Things I Found Online, we're exploring online reinvention. How does the internet provide us with tools, resources, and advice that instructs and facilitates new choices while connecting us with others who share our passion and vision? I'm Jamie Alcroft, and on the panel with me is Lori Rogenkamp, Lisa Arch, our guest, lawyer-turned-actor Samuel Whitehill, and our host, it's Louise Palanker.
Thank you, Jamie. I feel so instructed and facilitated.
Welcome,
Sam. And Sam is here. You are an actor.
Yes.
So can you share a bit of your story with us? According to this article that we found online, gentlemen, kindly click on said article.
Yeah.
You did a student film at UT Austin that was never released. Now scroll down that page, Lane.
I saw that.
And you're going to see this is what Sam has from the experience. It looks he looks like a very angry lawyer in a cowboy hat.
I was going through a clinical depression at the time too, and I didn't know anything about acting, but I knew how to behave like that character is supposed to behave. He was in clinical depression as well.
Well, he must have been. He's wearing a fluffy shirt, and he's a sheriff.
Yeah.
How many
Very
sheriffs
fluffy.
do you see with fluffy shirts?
They rented
Really?
that shirt at the tuxedo barn. Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
You're under arrest.
So go ahead and tell us this story, because actually you've kind of resolved some of the issues that were created by this episode.
Exactly, because I was so excited about being in that film, and I used to go to the cutting room and watch them say, "God, I look really good on screen. That's amazing." It's like, that's weird. Some people do, some people don't, you know. And then
I've never said that about
myself.
myself.
I filmed on my city, and then
That
we got
was awesome.
someone called, and then they said, "Well, we're not going to do the movie. We violated the continuance policy or something." And the teacher said, "No more." They all got D minuses, and I got that one still shot out of it.
Did they get that shirt back to the tuck shop?
I don't know where they got that shirt from. I think they probably gave it back to the
mariachi band.
I was thinking about the flamenco dancer.
Okay.
You got to be careful.
So, like so many experiences out in Hollywood, you shoot something or you get interviewed for something and that never comes out, and you're always like, when is that coming out? And eventually you stop asking because you realize this isn't going to happen. But it kind of like planted in you a seed.
Well, and I knew how to take disappointment.
you
Essentially,
set
that's an
yourself
actor
up.
has to know how to be rejected, because that's, we go to auditions, get 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10. That's a good day, you know. But most of the time, you never know. It's a crapshoot.
So was that your only movie that you were in that didn't get released?
I was in another movie that didn't get released, but I never saw. It might have gotten released. It was just for a school project. I never saw it, but it wasn't the movie I wanted to work on, because the one in which you saw the picture, I was the lead. And I even wrote up a little resume, and it's not like the resumes we do today. I had no experience. I just wrote, height, weight, all that stuff. And then you could just see the career just fly away in the air.
right.
Now, what was the character? Were you like a secretly gay cowboy?
Well, probably. Yeah.
That can only explain the beard and the outfit.
Who struggles with depression?
Well, it was pretty. I guess. I was on top of things, as they say. But
Freeze. Freeze.
No.
Freeze! I said freeze.
Stop.
No, the character's name is Rich Halliday. I remember that. I don't remember anything else about anybody making the film. And he worked in one of those western towns. This was in Wimberley, Texas, and he would go in fake gunfights with fake outlaws. But he had some issues, and that was the issue. He and his girlfriend couldn't quite make ends meet or something like that. And then I think the last scene, she pulls a gun on him or something, and she, I'm gonna kill you.
Wow.
So it's a
But
comedy.
you were a lawyer?
No,
Yeah.
not yet.
I still am a lawyer.
When you made this movie, were you still a college
I
student?
think I was between having taken the bar and not and receiving the word, and I got in. Yeah, I think.
So then once that movie didn't come out, you were like, okay,
I'll have this other job.
I threw a coin up, it came down lawyer.
Exactly. And I traveled that summer. I came back, started working for the Court of Civil Appeals. It was a terrible, terrible job, and I really discovered I didn't like law. And I have a son who's a lawyer. He loves it. He works like a dog, and he seems to really enjoy it. So I hated my clients. I hated my work. I hated everything about it. I would never come home and talk about it, So it was a sign that I should have known. The first course I took in law school, Introduction to Law, was the lowest grade I ever made in law school. It was like, I think I got a D in that.
So you didn't get past the introduction.
No, but Vietnam War was going on then. And,
oh, boy.
So stay in school.
There was still the draft.
Yes.
I stayed in school. Then I said, I think I'm going to join the Air Force Reserve. So I signed up to join the Air Force Reserve. Went back to Lubbock that summer, worked in the student union as a janitor or something. Went back to Austin. It was near the Killeen where their base was. I was supposed to report to duty and realized I came back a month early. I misread the orders. It was supposed to be in October, not September. So a friend of mine was in naval flight. Said, "You don't want to be in the military. You don't want to be in the military. I don't want to do. It's not for you." I said, "Okay, I'll drop out and go back to 1A." Yeah. So by the time I was 1A again, Nixon had installed or had initiated the
lottery
draft, the lottery, and it got 329.
Oh, good for you.
So the Vietnamese would have to be coming over here in their rowboats with machine guns
before you were drafted.
Oh, yeah. No, they draft the women and children first before they got, 329.
Well, I told everybody the night of the lottery.
Yeah.
Oh, got 329. Got it. I thought that was and I got 329. Like that was
That's my
Like a
lucky
score.
number.
That was your lottery number.
Yeah.
I was 141, but I told everybody I was 1. April 13th was the number 1 pick.
Whoa.
And we were at the bar, and I told everybody I was 1, and I never had so many drinks bought for me in my life.
Oh,
that's
that's
hilarious.
scoundrel.
He's going to Nom. Let's get him a beer. Come on.
That's so funny.
My friends had a going away party for me in Lubbock, and then they got really perturbed when I didn't go in.
When you didn't go.
What did you do?
We want you lying in a.
You never went to that bar again.
Yeah. What did you
Yeah.
just kind of like move to a different town?
I actually got a psychiatric deferment.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Yeah, because they had photographs of me at Angela Davis Relief Fund rallies, and they had a picture of me with Charlie Frome from the Chicago 8. And I was a peace activist when I was in college, and I was an anti-Vietnam War guy, and they had photographs of me. And so about 6 years later, they pulled out the photographs. They said they're going to hold me over for a psychiatric examination, and I was going to stay in this barracks. And I said, hell no. Till you get me in your khaki, I'm not playing your game. So I went home that night. I was allergic to cats. I still am allergic to cats. So my friend drove me to the physical the next day with 6 cats in the car.
Oh, that's hysterical.
Oh, my God.
I was just red and swollen. I could barely see. But anyway, they said, you're going to talk to the psychiatrist. And I went to the psychiatrist's office, and I mistakenly hit the wire that his fluorescent desk lamp was attached to, and it crashed on the floor and exploded, and 3 guys came in with guns. And so I was dismissed.
Oh, I see.
Wow.
Well,
You're not the kind of guy we want in our military.
Well, how did number 141 do? Did you get drafted?
Well, yeah, I did get drafted.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
so then I went to the physical.
Oh,
but
right.
unlike you, I got the month right.
Yeah.
So they wanted
Yeah,
me.
well-
They said, well, you can get the month straight. We had this guy,
Yeah, he can
Samuel
read a
Whitehill,
calendar.
here the other day. He didn't know what month it was, so we don't want him in the army.
All right, so we want to know you had a career as a lawyer, and then from what I am reading online about you, your daughters bought you headshots for your birthday, and then you went online and started looking to see what you could discover about becoming an actor or getting breakdowns or auditioning. Like, tell us how that process began.
Okay, well, I was working as an extra at Central Casting, and we went to a seminar, and a guy said, you guys are really actors. You should start taking acting lessons. So I started taking acting lessons with Steve Easton. All 4 of my kids got me
I
a
took classes with Steve Easton.
He's amazing,
He's
isn't
fantastic.
he? And that's-
I was married to Steve Easton.
well, so was I.
Steve Easton
And
is
you
my
were too.
father.
Anyway, see, I am your father.
Anyway,
Roy wins the round.
Well, he's He's one of the
He
best
is
acting
he
coaches.
is.
and
He's wonderful.
He's
husband, too.
okay.
He's still active, which is most acting coaches never made it, and he
works all the
made
time.
it plus. But
He
anyway,
misspells my name on birthday cards.
when we're talking about on the internet,
He snores.
I'm totally involved with the internet. All the breakdown services I'm subscribed to on the internet. I get all my audition possibilities on the internet. IMDB Pro, IMDB, everything is online. And I don't know how to get it
casting
done.
partners.
But do you think that the presence of the internet made it easier for you to visualize this happening? For you?
Yeah, I made it. I don't know how I would have done it otherwise. Because back in the old days, you had to go sneak around and get the sides from wherever they were, and then you had to. There was so many
Sleep with
possibilities
people.
now.
You had to sleep with
Yeah.
people.
Talk about other than sleeping with people,
Yeah.
talk about the whole going to Kinko's and camping out in a corner, stapling your headshot. Just describe the process.
So I have to tell you, I talk with my friends about the fact that you didn't get sides. Well, so sides are the part of a script that you are auditioning with. And you
learn.
would have to drive across town to your agency. They'd call you and say, you have an audition tomorrow. Yeah. You have to come pick up your sides.
They call you about 3 hours before.
Yeah, exactly.
If you were lucky.
Exactly. And then you'd have to go get those. This is before fax machines. Fax machines made it easier. So look, being an actor is an incredibly disruptive thing because you're a freelancer and you never know when you're going to have a call. So you could have a whole day planned and you get a call that tomorrow at 3 in Santa Monica, you have this audition and then your whole day is shot to hell.
Oh, man.
So this was even more so because your present day was shot to hell because you had to go get your sides and then come home and memorize them and then drive to the audition. And there was no... and then, yes, I would get headshots. I'd have to get them printed at Isgo Lepigian in Burbank and then staple my resume to them. It was constant work. It was constant work.
Yes.
It was exhausting. I just heard myself say it was constant work. It was exhausting and then thought of people who have real jobs. So forgive me. It wasn't that constant and it wasn't that exhausting.
No, it's not that. It's kind of fun, actually.
Yeah, it's actually not that bad. But for the purposes of this story, wow, it was hard.
Oh, it's sure better than having a job.
I don't know, but a coal miner knows that they're going to be a coal miner at the beginning of the day. They're not
plans.
I have a plan to go to breakfast.
We have a call to mine.
We have a black lung situation
Get
here.
over here.
We need you down here.
First, we need you to drive
and pick up an example of the coal so you'll know what you're mining for.
Oh, my God.
true.
And
Yeah.
then you need to
They have it
go
better.
and take a photo of yourself.
Right.
No.
So
he
we
realizes
know.
he's out of headshots.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Auditioning now is so easy too.
So now, Sam, describe what it's like for
Yeah.
the modern actor.
Yes. Please.
Like how do you find out about a part, and then what's expected of
I'm
you?
subscribed to these online websites for actors, like Actors Access, for example. They have my profile. Old white guy, essentially. And so I need something for an old white guy. I cast between 48 and 73.
Jesus.
Range.
That is a huge range.
Older white.
Older white.
You're 50 to 74.
Yeah.
It's more like 50 to 73.
Yeah, I
but-
could. That 41, I could never get.
But the auditions I like best are the ones that you have to send EcoCast, where you have to do your own audition, and you upload it to YouTube, and then you send it to them.
Do your own audition.
Or you can-
All right. So wait, back it up. So what camera do you use to do your own audition?
Well,
you set up your
today
phone.
I had a very simple one. I did it on my phone.
Okay, cool.
But usually I want a quality audition, and I go down to a studio down the street from myself. A neighbor of mine who's an actor and also a wonderful director. Can I mention his name on?
For sure.
His name is Steve Hanneman.
Is that your dad?
Oh, I was married to him.
No, you weren't.
Yeah.
I have no idea who that man
He's
is.
with his first wife.
Steve Hanneman.
But it's called 1817 Film Studios, 1817, West Verdugo. You go into the studio. He has all the equipment. There's tens of thousands of dollars you have to spend if you got all this equipment. And he won't let you out of there without doing a great audition.
That's good.
He says,
Awesome.
so you go over several times. And of course, he charges for it. The clock is ticking.
Right.
But you send it in either at Actors Access. You send the MP4 to them directly, or you can send it through LA Casting. You can send it from a YouTube unlisted channel, And that makes it so easy.
So I have a question. So from the point of view of the casting director, do they call in way less people after they're able to, curate who they want to see through looking at all these online auditions? They don't have to have like hallways full of people.
They probably call in more.
Are they calling
I've
more?
only had to do 2 of these. No, 3 of these in my whole, and they were only because I was out of town. So yeah, I don't know exactly how that works. I think, I don't know if we're going on, like, is this SAG and AFTRA stuff?
What do you mean?
Is it union?
Is it union stuff that you do?
I'm going to join the union next month.
Oh, okay. So we're doing different things. That's why I was
you
like,
do stuff
God,
you do stuff that pays, and I do stuff that might.
You're on your way there.
Okay.
Yes,
So we're going to take a look
way.
at Sam's IMDb real quick, and we'll see, because he's kind of ramping up towards. And you've got everything in order, like in terms of your online presence. When you Google you and the way you're presented, you're doing everything right.
Yeah,
I hope so.
So you're putting together a body of work, and he's winning a lot of awards.
Oh, good
and
for
you're
you.
in a lot of films that are shown at film festivals. And that
like
type
the
of
one
thing.
on the one Rolling in the Deep has won 20 awards at film festivals. They've been on television for 2 years in a row.
Oh wow!
And I hope that the filmmaker Marcellus Cox will be able to make a feature soon of that film.
So that's a short.
It's a short. It's 12 minutes long, but every time I see a certain scene in there, which I'm playing a white owner of an all-white cafe in South Carolina in 1945.
Oh wow!
When he has to change a heart, tears come to my eyes. I'm not one of those people who cries. I mean, some people can go into an audition and cry. I can't. But that one really affects me because I grew up in that part of the world at that time. And I remember what people were doing and saying and how black people were treated.
Right.
Yeah, because you're between 40 and 70.
Right.
Yeah, well,
Somewhere.
the latter, you remember everything.
I will say what Sam is doing correctly is, so people forget, this is going to sound really corny, but people forget that show business is a business. And it sounds like you are pursuing it as such and that you're really taking it very seriously, all the steps that you need to take. I think a lot of people go, I want to be an actress. And then they just,
Look at my filter.
right. And so, no, it's really impressive that somebody takes it so seriously and is working so hard. Unfortunately, once you are union, there's no such thing as doing online auditions and finding your own auditions and that kind of thing because...
It beg to differ.
Is there?
Yeah, you can.
Oh, yeah, you can.
Yeah, I do it on Actors Access.
Especially
and
for voiceover.
Casting Network. Well, I do voiceovers just on my phone, and I send it to my agent. I mean,
right.
That's great now because
Yes.
I used to have to drive
Oh, absolutely.
down there. If I had a voiceover audition, it was 3 hours.
Yep.
As I lived out west towards Ventura, and I have to drive in, and now I
you just
I
have
go to
an
my
ISD
my
on.
studio, which is my closet. Because the suits and the clothes, they baffle the sound so perfectly.
Nice.
Why spend money on baffles when
Right,
you got
yeah.
a couple of nice suits from Ross?
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, in his 3 years of full-time acting, 3 years. This is a guy.
About 3.5.
This guy
Way to
has
go.
made it through law school, so this stuff for him is just like, yeah, I'll do whatever needs to get done.
Yeah.
In his 3 years of full-time acting, Whitehill has played principal roles in approximately 160 films, TV shows, music videos, and commercials. Since June 2015, he has been studying dramatic acting with veteran character actor Steve Easton, Laurie's father, at the Easton Studio in Toluca Lake in
My
Burbank.
ex.
And Sam, can you talk about the acting...
He snored.
The philosophy, the Easton philosophy of acting, and what they teach you, because it sounds like you're completely obsessed with it. No offense.
Yeah, I'm his pimp. I really am. He said, essentially, what it is, it was told by Charles Conrad, and we don't analyze the script. We don't ask what happened what's happened before, what happened after, what is your goal, make strong choices. No, we don't. We learn our lines at a monotone, go over them 3 times at a monotone, come back to them, keep doing it until you can say them by memory. Then you go to your audition, or you go to the set if you got your lines right away and you have to go on set. Then you perform them. You go into a Zen state almost, and you deep breathe, and you perform them without choosing how to how
It's
you're going
about
to say
not
them in
making
advance.
choices until you're in the moment.
Right.
then-
so
and
you
so
say
the-
them the way that you would say whatever I'm saying right now.
Correct.
Exactly.
As it's just coming out
Only
of you.
less annoying.
Got it.
No.
That's right.
Note taken.
I haven't.
But you,
Finally, someone said it.
but
It had to be.
How did
Yeah.
you say?
But you can do a cold reading that way. You every other week, like this week, for example, he's going to say, "Bob and Janet, go to the front. It's your turn. Pick out number 10." So we pick out number 10, pull the staples out, turn it over. Who's first? Oh, Clyde is. And then you look down with your eyes, like you say, "What do you think of her?" And then the person looks at you, then looks down like that. "Bonnie, she's a peach." You pick up a couple of words at a time, and that sort of imitates human speech because we don't
Right.
say, you won't sound like you've memorized the lines.
Right.
It's
Right.
like human speech. And
You
that's
don't know
the way-
everything you're going to say until after you've already said it.
Yeah. And I just,
I knew you were going to say that.
notice I said, "What do you think of her?" I didn't say it as a question. I said it as a statement. And he tries to emphasize it. When you have a question, don't say it as a question, say it as a statement. You have a laundry list. You don't say, "I bought a car, I bought da-da. You say, "I bought a car, I bought da-da." You stay as the statements. It comes off much stronger. And if you see other actors auditioning, I shouldn't say this out loud because all these millions of people out here listening, they all say it the same way. But Steve Easton students, we all say it differently. So they may not get you for that role, but they won't forget you.
Right.
And you will stand out.
Well,
he's
Sam-
a great teacher.
Sam is quoted in an article about him that I found online. He says, "We work under the proposition that each of us possesses the genes of everyone who has ever lived, be it Hitler or Mother Teresa. I play a white bigot. I think the thoughts that I imagine a white bigot would think. I've also played a child molester, a wine expert, a U.S. president, and that was all the same person. So
Yeah.
Currently, yes, maybe. I don't know.
I think our current president,
Yeah.
among many other roles. In each case, I shed my own identity and think the thoughts of the character. So I was thinking it would be fun for you to demonstrate. So I prepared an acting exercise.
Oh my God.
If everyone
Oh, no.
please open their phone to the rundown, then you can have a part in this
Oh, really?
masterpiece. This is a classic scene that our audience may recognize. We open on a hunter sneaking through the woods, following what he believes to be rabbit tracks.
Shh. Be very, very quiet. I'm hunting wabbits.
No, Bugsy, pal. There's a friend here to see you. Survival of the fittest and bestest. It'll be fun.
Did someone knock? Hey, what's up, Doc?
Now I gotcha. You wabbit.
Say, Doc, are you trying to get yourself in trouble with the law? This ain't rabbit hunting season.
It's not.
No, it's duck hunting season.
That, sir, is a mitigated fabrication. It's rabbit season.
Duck season.
Rabbit season?
Duck season.
Rabbit season.
Duck season.
Rabbit season.
Wabbit season.
Duck season.
Wabbit season.
I say, it is duck season. And I say, fire.
Whoa, it got really tense.
That was riveting.
yeah.
It was like it was.
Looney Tunes brought to you by
Really?
Quentin Tarantino.
Oh, you say, yeah.
Wow.
So you're going to have to go online to see how that story ends.
It reminded me of Apocalypse
I don't think
Now.
it doesn't end well for the hunter. I
No,
think.
no.
There's an apocalypse now for the.
That quote
Colonel.
reminded me of something an improv coach once said, which is that like nobody believes that they're the bad guy. So like even like Hitler was like, "Hey,
Even
I'm
the
doing
bad
some
guy.
good."
Yeah,
you
I
know, like I'm trying.
Yeah.
And you read Michael Caine's book, sure, acting for film.
I did.
Just brilliant,
Yeah.
brilliant stuff. And he talks about the fact that you just let everything be a surprise. And you learn your lines.
Oh, that's interesting.
All you do is learn your lines. It's memorization, which we all know as actors gives us a heightened degree of confidence going into an audition.
And total freedom.
When and total freedom when you don't have that paper in front of you.
But you know what I always have heard, and I sort of subscribe to, is that no casting director or director wants to think that you are doing it perfectly. They want to see that they have room to direct you.
Oh, of course.
So that's why I do always hold my sides. And even though I know them, I'm kind of glancing down occasionally.
I was going to say that.
Yeah.
I was going to say that. And you can't, I try to do it perfectly so they have no wiggle room.
Right.
Well, they call it reading. So
I can't.
Oh, yeah.
It's reading.
Yeah, they do call it reading.
It's just reading.
Well, the internet offers many tips for reinventing yourself. Most of the internet's advice comes in the form of lists, which invites the conclusion, if you would like to accomplish something, make a list. Here's a list from tinybuddha.com called 5 Steps to Reinvent Yourself. Create the Future You Realize by Melissa Kirk. And so we're going to go over these steps and see if we agree or disagree.
Okay.
So number 1, who would like to read number 1? Let's let Lori read number 1 since she didn't get a part in our play.
There you go.
Create a vision for your future. Stand for a moment and silently voice your appreciation for everything that came before. Once you've thanked the past, turn toward the sun, and with compassion and gratitude, imagine yourself walking away from the past and into the future.
Okay. Number 2, Jamie?
Write about your reinvention. Where are you living? What do you do in the mornings, afternoon, and evenings? Who are your friends? What do you spend your days doing?
Number 3, Lisa?
Surround yourself with visual reminders of the life you'd like to create. It can be anything that reminds you of what you're moving toward.
Number 4 is, do you have that, Sam? Right there.
Break your vision into workable tasks. Make a list of everything you need to do and a schedule of when you'll do it. Then do it. Commit to keeping it one day at a time.
Commit yourself.
So what I think is important is in this phase is doing something every day that moves you towards your goal, and at least one action item every single day, because if you let 2 or 3 days slip in there where you haven't done something, then it becomes overwhelming once again. But if you're making tiny steps towards it every day, you feel like that momentum. So
Exactly.
When you put your head down on your pillow at night, think about what you've accomplished today and what you plan to do tomorrow. It's important for forward momentum that we take steps every day, because we tend to remain either a body in motion or a body not in motion. So be in motion. Yeah, even if it's you just made one phone call, so that you can write on your list, like, made a phone call, spoke to a guy, had coffee with someone who works inside this profession, like whatever it is, and that's getting you...
That's moving you towards your goal.
Moving you towards your goal, so that you don't let that
Absolutely.
complacency set in once again.
Yeah.
Every day, number 5 is every day go back to that vision of you walking toward your future. No matter what you feel in the moment, lonely, self-critical, tired, lazy, or disappointed, do something to maintain momentum, even if it's one small thing. There's an old adage that says that true courage isn't about not feeling fear, it's about feeling fear and acting anyway. Choose courage instead of letting your fear choose your future for you. So, is that something that came naturally for you, Sam, when you were reinventing yourself? Like, these steps, did they come naturally for you, or did you have to kind of put some systems in place and guidelines that you strictly adhered to?
I think they came naturally because in my past life, I had to. My wife and I raised 4 kids. We had to multitask. We had to be organized, and so
you guys have a chore wheel.
Yeah,
chore wheel.
So we had to have to just one step at a time. Just keep on moving, keep on doing this, and you say, well, my goals for next year, I'd like to do such and such. So you exceed that during this year, and you find yourself next year. So
and it's interesting that people who parent don't realize that you already are doing this, because your child would perish. So you have to, every day if you have even one kid, and one is a lot of kids, right, Lisa?
Yes.
One is a lot of kids. Like, oh my God, there's so much that you have to do. You have to get him here. You have to.
It's different though, Louise, because that kid, what you just said, if you don't do all the things, your kid will either have a miserable life or pass away from lack of food and love.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to do those things to keep a person alive. You don't have to get new headshots to keep somebody alive. You don't have to call a casting director. You know what I mean?
But maybe you should look at it that way. Look at your new life as a child that you have to
That's
nourish.
a great idea. Honestly, that's a great idea. Like, if I don't do this, that dream dies.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
smart.
and when you talk about dreams dying, it's these postums or stickers that you put up, these motivational things.
Post-its.
The-
I think
It's a little
postum is
kitty,
a coffee
little kitty
Post-its,
hanging
you're
from a
right.
bar,
Post-it.
and he says,
I dated
"Hang
myself
in there."
Yeah,
A little
Yeah.
kitty.
Yeah.
it's all that. I think about my daughter, Haley. She had Post-its
Oh,
wow.
all over her bedroom. Be strong. Be happy. Be firm. She just, and really it worked because
She's an incredibly
when-
successful.
Well, yeah, she was very, very successful, and she is very successful and continues to be. But she continues.
HaleyKyoko.com.
HaleyKyoko.com. She continues to do that, to have reminders, and I've started to do it because, just like Louise said, you tend to forget what your goal is. You tend to forget what your motivation is, and you get caught up in life.
Yeah.
And if you have those little reminders around,
That's smart.
and you look up and you see that word, and that word means so much to you, has so much import, you go, oh, right, that, okay. I should do this now.
Yeah.
Or I should do that now.
You know
it's
what,
it's
we-
really hard to keep on track. And
We tend to feel like paper isn't really that necessary because whatever we need, we can click on a tab and it will appear.
No.
But as you walk through your physical world,
Yes.
the things that are on your walls should be things that you really enjoy looking at, that reinvigorate you or that remind you of your goals. Because when you're not actually staring at a screen, you are walking through a world. So put on your mirror or put in physical places things that inspire you or that remind you that you're pretty.
What about
Or your
vision
goals.
boards?
I don't.
think
in Joan Rivers, this is my month of May.
Would you hold that up to the
camera?
camera?
That looks like
This is
nonsense.
April.
You have to let the camera see.
that just isn't.
That's all Hebrew.
That
No, it looks like Hebrew. I can't even read my Hebrew handwriting anymore. But this is the movie by Joan Rivers, about Joan Rivers.
Oh, I
that she
love
made.
it. I love her book too.
She had a picture. She had her calendar out, and she said, "See this? This is death." She pointed to a blank on her calendar. I try to keep as busy as I can every day. It's the third year I've done this. Have it all written down. What?
So have something going
You're
on
here-
every day.
You're right here, April.
Oh boy, you're never going to be able
See?
to run for Supreme Court.
I won't.
Yeah.
The things I did when I was in high school.
What is that?
Not
What were you
gonna
doing
make
with
any
Squee?
What's that? What's that? Yeah, what is that?
You're never going to be able to be
And
nominated.
then I don't
No.
work on the Jewish
No.
holiday. I have to be, Saturday's always not a day to work as an
Right.
actor, and just keep writing it down. Some people keep it online. I like to see it.
I have like a
Yeah,
notebook because,
Yeah.
and I did it I learned the hard way because I used to set reminders for myself for like little things like buy toilet paper, but I couldn't figure out how to disable it, and I just would always forget. So I spent about $175 on toilet paper one month because I kept thinking that I didn't have toilet paper, and I kept buying toilet paper. And finally, I went out to the garage, and my aunt was like, "For the love of God, stop buying toilet paper." And I was
But
just
my
like,
phone tells me to.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so easy with Amazon because you just be like, Alexa, buy toilet paper, and it just
And
sends
Alexa
you.
never said, Lori,
No.
you
You already-
freaking bought it like 4 days in a row,
But see,
dumbass.
this is how dumb I am. Is I get text alerts, so I would get text alerts that toilet paper was delivered, and then like the next day would be like, I guess I'm out of toilet paper because my
Wow.
reminders are saying
you-
buy toilet paper.
Wow.
You stop trusting your own mind because
Yeah.
you've
She should. Clearly.
Well,
You
yeah.
should not be trusting her own
No,
mind.
no, God,
Yeah.
no.
Clearly.
So now I just have Post-its all around that say buy toilet paper. So it works
So you're
out.
still doing it.
Yeah.
Well,
I
yeah, you're
get
going to run out of Post-its pretty soon.
Yeah. Well, I have
Buy
another.
Post-its.
I have a sheet of toilet paper that says buy
By
Post-its.
Post-its. Yes.
well.
I
So-
tend to get very distracted from the big picture things. So
Right.
like Louise knows that I stopped working for 2 years purposely
Yeah.
to be a mom, to be a better mom, a more present mom, and to just to only be a mom.
How many headshots did you get printed in that time?
Oh my gosh, so many. Just because my son kept wanting to see them.
Yeah.
And how many of those prime rolls slip through your fingers? Yeah.
Well, no, actually, I mean, look, that's a whole other story. Anyway, so I stopped working for 2 years, and now I'm beginning again. And every day that I am supposed to be doing something toward that goal, I find other things to do.
Yeah.
Which is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's not a great.
So this show is helping you.
It is helping me very
But
much.
I
I'm going to get Post-its. I'm going to look toward the sun.
Yeah.
I don't know what
Get
the
that
and
hell
don't forget
that's about,
toilet
by the
paper.
way.
And that
I'm
kitty
going to
cat.
get more toilet paper.
Yeah.
Kitty cat.
The kitty
And the
cat,
kitty cat
hang
on.
in there.
Yeah.
Well,
hang in
I
there.
also think that as a comedian, I've learned that it's like I, for the longest time, thought that I could not take a break, which is true. Like, you should be trying to work towards, but I feel like life itself is material. And
Yes.
so it's like a lot. So this last couple years, I've been really trying hard to pursue my dream, but also take time to
Live your life.
live my life
so you
and
have
also
stuff
be
to talk
healthy.
about.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just came to this realization this year where I was like, I can't spend my life where I get up at 10 a.m. and then just rush to work. I have to get up early. I have to have time to recuperate, get my mind right, do yoga, meditate, something to so I'm not just so rushed and anxious throughout the whole day.
Right.
And that has completely changed. But it's also changed because it's I know now, because I want to get up at 8 a.m., or sometimes maybe 9:45. But
9:50.
10:30. But I realized that I can't stay up till midnight. I have to go to bed at a certain time. So it's certain shows that normally I would go to the Improv and do an open mic and stay out till 1 a.m. But now I'm just no, I got to go home because it's taking care of myself.
Right. I think if you're doing things to the detriment of your health, which that was also sort of happening to me, my mental health, because I needed to be home. I knew I needed to be home, and I kept working, and every audition and every job I would have a huge panic attack.
Yeah.
And so that was me telling myself to step away, and I have worked since I've been on my break, and I will say that in those 2 years, not only did I, feel like I accomplished a lot as a parent, but I did reinvent myself, because me on set is 100% different than me on set before I took that break.
In what way?
Beyond calmer, not in a rush to get anywhere. I'm much more centered in the knowledge that my son is taken care of, but whether it's by my husband or a friend or my mom, I'm not worried about everything. It's just, it completely centered me. And I'm so grateful to be on set now when I am, in a way that I never was in the past. It always felt, I don't know.
Did you feel guilty?
A lot of times I felt guilty, and then other times I just felt and this is the truth, God, I've been working so hard for so many years, and this is the job I'm doing. This is what I'm doing.
Right.
And frankly, now, honestly, any job that is remotely enjoyable is such a gift.
Yeah.
And I never looked at it that way before.
I used to do because I did improv and sketch, and then I stopped doing stand up for a while. And one of my big things was I was so anxious to get back into stand up because improv is a lot more supportive. So if you go into, for example, if you go into a room with all improvisers, you're like, this is going to be a good show. If you go into a room with all comedians, you're like, oh boy, okay, this is going to be a slog, because comedians aren't generally supportive people. Stand-ups aren't.
We're
Improvs
self-contained.
Right.
The cooperative, because the nature of the
That's
art
right.
form is cooperation.
Yeah. But I've learned, so I was so worried about doing shitty shows. I was I love doing great shows, but everybody does. But the terrible shows were the ones. But even 3 months ago, I had an awful show, and I loved it. I was and I think it's because I took that time away.
That's amazing.
And also I was I forgot that you're with people who are experiencing the same thing. You're able to be around a community. And so I think that, when even that's what you want to do, when even if you can find a sliver of something, then you're
in the right place.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the things that humans do is we don't acknowledge or respect our own feelings. We just kind of say, I shouldn't be feeling this way. And so we just kind of shove it down rather than saying,
Absolutely.
if I'm feeling this way, there's a reason
Something's
behind
wrong,
it. I
yeah.
have to address the underlying cause of this feeling. And that's what you did.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. But it took a long time. But I finally did. But also, I will say, and I think Jamie will agree with me, and you might not know this, but you should know that you've gotten in at a good time age-wise, because 25 years ago, I'd go to an audition and everyone was a bitch. We were all just staring each other down and trying to intimidate and all that. Now I walk into an audition and it is it's almost like going to an AA meeting. Really? It's a group of the most supportive women. We're all cheering for each other. No one.
Fantastic.
That is amazing. I do feel like you age out of that negative stuff and
or the desperation.
I also think grow into rooting for your peers.
Right. I also think it's like just the time now. Like I remember there's video of me, I'm sure you can find it on YouTube, where I did
Oh, we will.
I did this interview for like a Orange County like local news station, because I had won a competition, California's Funniest Person for female.
She wins a lot of stuff.
That's rad.
Yeah.
So I was with this guy, Bill Word, who was the guy who ran the show. And the comedian, of course, asked the dumbest question ever, which is like, why aren't more women doing comedy? Why aren't women funny? You know that.
Hey, gals.
Yeah. And my honest answer, which is what I honestly thought at the time, which I was like, we're doing it to ourselves. We are not telling good jokes. I feel like too many women are telling jokes that aren't receptive to audiences. And Bill, the guy, was literally interjecting, was like, well, I think it's a numbers game. And so I was like, and that was the first time that somebody mansplained something correctly. Because I was like, thank God he interjected, because I would have gone on a whole rant about how I was like, look, most women just aren't funny. And I firmly believe that, because I grew up in that scenario where I was told you're funny even though you're a girl.
Wow.
And so I consistently, anytime I would see another woman, I think, oh, she's definitely not funny. And so I think it's just that time that you grew up in, and when you get older, and also now it's so much more inclusive and women are being so much more supportive of each other. So I definitely think that, it's stand-up shows have gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
I used to dread going to like bar stand-up shows, because I'd be like, I one time went to a stand-up show where I had to go right on after somebody got stabbed, and that was the highlight
on stage.
That was the highlight of the night.
Talk about a bad audience.
Yeah, that's not good.
So I mean, it's like, you know,
it must have been something.
Were you the stabber?
Yeah, he was running the light. I wanted to go on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
valid.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that I think it's also the time that we're in, which is great. I think it's a lot more inclusive. It's a lot more supportive.
And there's a lot less pressure because of the internet. A lot of these old pressures are off.
Yeah.
Because it's just very easy. People say, "How did you do all this?" Back said it's a lot easier than it seems. Mm-hmm. It's a lot easier than I ever expected.
It's just doing it.
Yeah.
Well, did you know that Sam speaks English, Spanish, and Hebrew, and has published 4 books of original Hebrew poetry in Israel?
Where
he
books.
is
Spanish too.
He is known as Robert Whitehill Bashan.
Bashan. And the reason I had it Bashan was that Whitehill in Hebrew is spelled 3 or 4 different ways.
Okay.
So I added Bashan so they wouldn't have
any confusion.
Yeah,
all right,
confusion.
So this
is my first book.
Poetry books in Hebrew.
Wow.
My second.
I would like to see
my second book.
You gotta see the picture on the first book. That's
pretty
great.
And then turn it over, because Sam's on the back.
Yeah, I had a picture on the back.
Oh,
in those
I
days.
meant the mustache on that.
Oh, the mustache,
had a mustache.
It's
and
like his
hair that didn't,
it's the Selleck years.
on top even.
Yeah.
And my last book, 4th book, is it's called Tap Dancing Through Black Holes.
And tell us about your poetry, since I don't know if I'm going to be able to learn the Hebrew in time for this show to be.
It's like modernist. I also have written in rhyme and terza rima, and I've written sonnets. Sonnet cycles.
Read us something and then translate it for us.
Oh, that's tough.
That's tough. Okay.
Yeah, that's another show.
Well, you also said that you take picture paintings and you create stories based on
right.
that?
This book has a chapter of poetry based on paintings by Edward Hopper.
What inspired you to do that?
I love Edward Hopper's work because it's so inducive to a scenario that has nothing to do with what he was thinking about, but you can see a whole story because he has a person looking out a window. Mm-hmm. What is that? Why is she looking out this window? Or you see a house. The door is open, and outside the door, instead of a front yard, you have an ocean. Mm-hmm. That kind of stuff. And
that's cool.
Or they have 2 women sitting in a restaurant eating chop suey, but the sign above the women, this neon sign, looks like sex, not suey. Two women, and you have a nude woman sitting on a bed, by herself.
That never happens.
That could happen.
No.
Never.
Lisa, how's your Hebrew?
Yeah.
I can read a little of
All
this. No, but very little, and I'd probably butcher it.
Well, it's
Does that say Kol Yisrael Arvim?
Arevim.
Oh my gosh, that's weird.
Wow, Lisa.
Way to
Great.
go.
Bat mitzvah
Zeh
days.
bazeh. Kol
Bazeh.
Yisrael Arevim bazeh bazeh. All Jewish people are
I can't
responsible.
believe I remember that. I don't know
great.
what any of it means.
Mom, the Hebrew school.
Chatzik,
Yeah, well done.
something like that. Yes, I feel very good about my
Anyway.
cuz.
But how did you learn conversational Hebrew when you didn't even grow up in a religious household?
Well,
Did you grow up in a Jewish household?
Yeah, a Jewish house. My parents were. My father was. She escaped from New York,
Grew
living
up
in
in a
Lubbock,
Mennonite
Texas.
household.
Yeah, Mennonite. Anyway, when I was a teenager, I started learning on my own. I had some living language records, and I had the Berlitz self-teacher.
That's insane.
That
matter of
is
fact,
insane because that's
Yeah.
a difficult
When
Yeah.
language.
I was on the way to Israel to get this book published, I went to the living language people in New York City and said, I used your product, and now I've written a book of poetry in it. And the guy said, it was such a letdown. He said, oh, in that case, you want to learn some of our other languages. We have Portuguese, and we have Russian for Spanish-speaking people.
Good for
He
him
totally
to pivot.
missed an opportunity.
So I said goodbye.
Yeah.
Have a nice-
Upsell him.
Yeah, anyway.
What made you decide to write in Hebrew?
Well, I guess growing up in the house I lived in, my thoughts, it was a way of expressing myself without having to deal with the environment I was in. If I was raised in a normal house, I'd probably wouldn't be sitting here today with you. I'd be.
Yeah, normal Jews do not learn Hebrew. We don't know what happened
Well,
to
in
you.
Israel,
But
the
wait a
normal
minute.
Jews
That begs the question. Why wasn't your house normal? Why didn't you consider it normal?
My mother was ill once when I was living in the East Coast, and I brought her up from Texas to our house, to our town, so she could get some medical attention, psychiatric attention. And my father flew up, and the psychiatrist met with my mother, my father, and myself, and then he sat with me and said, this is the DSM-4. Your father is chapter blah, 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 the narcissistic personality disorder. Your mother is the next chapter, the dependent personality disorder. He thinks he's God, and so does she.
Wow.
It's like a marriage made in heaven. I wrote some poetry about that fact.
Wow.
That is
And matter of fact, they're
fascinating.
putting one in anthology. It's Mazel Tov to their 50th anniversary in 1987. And I talk about the DSM manual. And then I asked the doctor, well, where do I fit in here? He said, well, you're in this one. You're the...
The prodigal son.
No, you're the... I made up some disorder then.
Yeah.
So at what point did you have enough separation between yourself and your parents to recognize that what you were going through was not normal and was not what you deserved, et cetera?
When I brought my wife home to meet my parents, she said, this is the worst relationship I've ever seen. If she was smart, she would have gone away, because she had a very close family. And they had issues too. I mean, they all do. But she saw this as a very toxic environment.
Yep.
And that
Wow.
my mother's sort of virtual prisoner in her house. She was...
So when you plugged yourself into a completely different language, did that help you create distance between you and this dysfunction?
Yeah, it's like being an actor. You pretend you're someone else, and all of those things in yourself are expressed as someone else, and you go home at night. You don't have to be that person. You don't have to be that person
It's
anymore.
amazing what people create from pain.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is, because I'm completely flabbergasted that you have 3 poetry books in Hebrew there.
Four.
There's four.
Oh,
Lisa.
4. I
Oh my
apologize.
God.
No,
You-
4.
you
that's
deal.
overkill. Now I'm the opposite of impressed.
Done over a billion-year
Show off.
period.
Yeah.
No, but that's insane. The fact that you are so driven to do these things and to start them and see them through, and that they're unusual, but very creative. I think, that's a testament to coming from pain.
Right. It's very healthy channeling too.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Because so many people go the other way and, just lead miserable lives, I think.
No,
So-
I said early in my life I didn't want to be miserable about it. So, for example, I hated being a lawyer. So instead of being a lawyer, I would do other things. And so I did this. I translated novels from Hebrew to English from some prominent Israeli novelist I was friends with for many years. And it kept me going.
That's wild.
And
That's
it's-
amazing.
That's insane.
Fantastic.
That's why. Congratulations.
Very, very
Yeah.
commendable.
And you haven't stopped going.
Right.
You really
Oh,
haven't.
I'm a growth. I
You're-
told my acting coach, Steve East, I'm going to stay in your class till one of us drops. I'm a year and a half older than he is, but I'm in better health.
All right, we're going to turn to Facebook feed time, and I don't know if you're aware of this, Lisa, but we selected your post.
Huh?
Facebook feed to us. Facebook feed time comes to us from our own Lisa Arch. Lisa, would you kindly read the photograph? Is you framed this? Yes.
No.
That's
Maybe we will.
That's
This
so-
is from a.
That's a really great picture.
This is from a party we were at where they had that.
Who's that gentleman?
But
Is
that would be my
Photo booth?
husband.
That's Mr. Arch.
So would you read the post for us, Lisa, because I really love it.
Sure. So today is my 19th wedding anniversary with my husband.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, now who's the guy in the photograph?
It's the mailman?
It's a large
so-
version of the boy in the other room.
Yes, it really is.
Oh, they do look alike.
Right?
So I posted today, love is a choice. You choose a person to love and to spend your life with. Choose wisely. Don't settle. Don't choose that person expecting them to change or one that expects you to. You're both going to grow and change over the years. Choose the person you are 100% authentic with. Choose the person that makes you laugh, makes you feel safe, brings out the best in you, believes in your dreams, mourns your losses, and doesn't let you give up. Then choose to love that person when you're at your worst or they are at theirs. Choose to be that person's best friend. Choose to find new things to discuss, new ways to show you care, to be okay with it when nothing seems new, and to figure out how to freshen it up. Today marks 19 years of choosing Russell Arch. It's the easiest choice I make every single day.
That is brilliant.
Okay, now translate it into Hebrew. So happy anniversary, and what do you advise to young
brilliant.
people? Everything that you said in there was like really 100% solidly wonderful advice. But what do you do when you're in love with someone who isn't that?
You break up with
and
them.
you know it.
So this is what relationships. My two favorite things to talk about are relationships and food, and how I feel about relationships is this: we've all been in relationships we know we shouldn't be in. Hopefully, usually it's when you're younger, but sometimes it's not. And sometimes you stay because it's so passionate. Sometimes you stay because you love the arguing and the making up. Sometimes it's because you're best friends, even though you're not in love and there is no passion. So there's a lot of reasons. But if you don't have everything you want in a partner, don't stay. Don't stay. Stay for as long as it works for you and then move on. Because what is waiting on the other side is better. And I believe that closing that door, without closing that door, you are missing out on what you're supposed to.
Someone could be walking by
No
right
question.
now while
Yes.
you're looking in a different direction.
Yes.
But it's just really hard when you're in love because
Sure.
love is a drug.
It is. It is.
And the word you use, the primary word you used in that little diatribe was choose.
Yep. Yes.
That you choose
Choose. You
this,
used it
choose that,
repeatedly.
choose that. Well, some of us make bad choices.
No question.
I was lucky, very lucky. I dodged a lot of bullets,
Right.
and
Yeah.
and you just,
wife
you,
made
you
the
just,
bad
I
choice.
didn't accept. Yes,
And she pays every day.
every day.
No one's perfect.
But I didn't accept anything less than
Same.
what I expected for myself and what I expected of someone else.
Absolutely.
And now it's 33 years.
Wow.
And I will say also,
Congratulations. That's awesome.
41.
Wow.
41 years.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
I will say also
That's
that
amazing.
when you find the right person, that's when you know how bad the other relationships
Yes.
were, because it's so much easier.
Oh,
So
so
true.
much. It's funny, Louise, because you and I have had this conversation a
Yeah.
couple times about Ron and Russ, and we both have said, I knew, so my first date with Russ, I was exactly who I am in every other situation in my life. I didn't feel like I had to be even a hair better or eat less or be less sarcastic or anything. I changed nothing, and
Right.
it wasn't a conscious decision. And I didn't realize till afterwards that, like, wow, there was not a moment of inauthenticity there.
Right.
Yeah.
And he made me feel
awesome.
like a whole person.
That the person he was attracted to was the actual
was
you.
totally me. And I felt about him, I mean, the exact same way. And you said that about Ron too, like that. Well, I don't know if I can say that about when you argue sometimes.
Oh, yeah, you can say this. It's so funny. I don't know if I haven't read this anywhere else. I think it's just me. And like, get the DSM book out so we can figure it But go ahead, Lisa. Yeah.
Well, Louise told me that when she and Ron fight sometimes, and it can be a very serious fight, she'll just start laughing.
I have this impulse to laugh because I don't know. I think it's just a nervous, like, church laugh. It's because the argument is so stupid. It's over whether or not like 65 is like way too hot to sleep in. And that's what we argue over because he opens the windows and turns off the heat, and it's like, could I have like a baseline of 65 so we don't die, we don't perish in the night?
Hypothermia.
Because I come from the East Coast, I come from Buffalo, New York. You wouldn't think of turning the heat all the way off. There would be no live people here in the morning.
Yeah. True.
So I just think that's such a stupid thing to argue about that I kind of leap ahead to where we're past the argument already, and I think it's just hilarious that this is what we decided to use.
That's a really good technique.
It really is.
I don't let him know that I have this compulsion to laugh. But that's how that sort of speaks to how the rest of our relationship is just really easygoing.
Yeah. That's amazing.
There's nothing at risk. So it's just this, like my husband walks through the room, and when he passes through the room and he comes out the other side, every door is open. There's not one thing that he hasn't opened and left open. And it's just funny to me. Like, you could be like, ugh, or you could be like, this is hilarious.
That's hilarious. Yes.
Yeah.
But don't you feel, you two gentlemen who have both been married a very long time, that you do have to make the choice? You know, sometimes you come home and you're in a really shitty mood and you don't want to be around people. But there's your partner who might have also had a really shitty day.
Or he needs to talk.
Or he needs to talk. And you make a choice to be there. And you make a choice to put your hand on their shoulder or let them know that you might need a minute, but you're still present.
Well, I think our main problem is that I'm a little bit hard of hearing. Well, I wear hearing aids. And sometimes I don't have them on or something. And Susan will say something. And I'll go, okay, See, what did I say? Oh, you don't listen to me.
Oh, yeah.
Either you don't hear me or you don't listen to me or that's so-and-so.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
So I have to apologize.
Right.
Yeah, my husband will do that thing. He'll be like, Jimmy's going to be there. Who else is going to be there? Is Jimmy? You know, like you've literally just said the thing. And then the next question is like, well, is your cousin Jimmy going to be there? I just said that Jimmy would be there. So... It's hard not to answer the question sarcastically when you literally just said the thing.
And you've got to be
That
yourself.
happens to us.
I mean, your partner's got to accept that.
Yeah.
And I can say that Sarah and I have never had an argument.
That's bullshit.
Because you give in.
We have disagreed about things.
Yeah.
But we've never had an argument where we stand there and argue with each other.
Right.
We don't
In
talk.
33 years?
We don't talk to each other.
Do you guys live in the same place?
I'm starting to think that Sarah lives somewhere else.
We don't.
Sarah?
She's on the
under
road.
the floor of the house.
Yeah.
Under the floor of the house.
No,
we don't let her.
We really haven't where I felt anger.
You have not had that?
No.
Oh, my God.
No.
That's pretty weird.
And I just, I
So
know
when do you
I'm
have
lucky,
sex?
and it's crazy. I don't get angry at her.
Thank you.
I don't get angry at her anymore.
Good night, everybody.
My girlfand screams in her sleep.
Oh, really?
Like,
Oh, no.
like
Oh,
she has
night terrors.
She has night terrors.
She dreams she lives with a comedian.
Yeah. She goes, no, not another joke. No, she screams. And
Good one.
something that really like affects her is light. So for some reason, like if there's a light on, she wears like an eye mask. So if there's a light on, she'll that like really affects her in her sleep.
Right.
So one time we were in this hotel room and I turned the light on for the bathroom because the way the layout of the hotel was, it was just confusing to find the bathroom in the dark. So I was like, oh, I'll just turn the light on so we'll have it permanently. And she just started screaming in her sleep and I just got up and turned the light off. And then I started laughing because I was like, I would have freaked the F out if this had been like the first time that we had slept together. But then I was just like, oh, the light. And she was just like, no, not again. Not again. And
How many years did she spend in Nam?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, she was 329. So.
And scene.
All right. What's Twitter trending is the hashtag. The hashtag, and this isn't even proper grammar. Help me out here. Hashtag you know you had enough. Isn't it? Shouldn't it be you know you have had enough?
You know you've had enough.
You know you've had
You know you had
enough.
enough when? All right. Who wants to read the first tweet? Jamie, read the first tweet from Rich Dad Bot Tweets.
Okay. You know you had enough when you wake up naked in the back of your Uber.
Okay, that's a good sign.
So this means like you've had enough to drink.
To drink.
Well, people took it any which way, as you'll
okay.
see as we proceed.
Okay.
Would you like to read the next one, Lisa?
Sure.
This is from Shelley.
You know you've had enough when you've erased the heart emoji next to their name. It's a wrap.
Boom.
So that's enough of a relationship.
That's how they chose to take it. And Dashley Drive-By tweets. Lori? I love this one. Okay, first describe the image.
Okay, so it's a dartboard, but it's surrounded by vinyl of
all kinds of memorabilia.
Yeah, bands.
And
Slates.
interestingly, there's a woman posing, but
With
she's not
barefoot.
quite facing the camera.
Yeah.
She's showing us her booty, and then her head spun around like it's part of
very
what's
dirty
hanging on
feet.
a wall.
Yeah, she's got very dirty feet.
And the tweet reads,
You know you had enough when you can't tell the dartboard from the memorabilia.
yeah, I kind of love that.
Okay.
Oh, that's fun.
Okay,
So,
that
any
works.
collectors here? Anyone who has a wall that looks like that?
Any hoarders?
Any hoarders?
No.
No.
All right, cool.
Not yet.
Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. This has been a truly grand experience sharing this podcast with you.
This has been fun.
Yes,
Yeah.
Samuel
Thank you.
Whitehill, where can we find you online?
Well, you can find me at Twitter under Whitehill Actor.
Okay.
Find me on Instagram under Samuel Whitehill. On Facebook, I'm Samuel Robert Whitehill. And you can find me on IMDB at Samuel Whitehill.
Oh, make up your mind.
Excellent.
And then
are
as
you?
an author, as
Reason
Samuel Whitehill
I'm
Brown,
Samuel,
right?
when I first signed up on all these different websites, they say, "What's your first name?" Samuel. The rule is when you have kids, call them by whatever name they want to go by the rest of their life, not just a middle name. So I became Samuel. And it took me a while to people would say, "Who are you, Robert or Samuel?" I said, "Well, I don't know. I guess I'm
So
Samuel."
your family
now."
calls you Robert?
Yeah.
So no nicknames, just Robert?
Sammy Bob.
My father-in-law calls me Sam Bob.
Sam Bob.
And
Sammy Bob.
my kids call me Abba, and my grandkids call me Saba. It's Hebrew for
Awesome.
grandpa.
Oh, that's nice.
Well, I want to thank you, Jamie Alcroft, Lori
Yes.
Roggenkamp, Lisa Arch, Dina Friedman, Steve Joyner, Bill Filipiak, John Maddox, and Michigan Sports and Entertainment Network. I am Louise Palanker. Be safe, be healthy, be kind, and we will see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Tell my dad I said hi.